Well, I got a mill in here that's a Straub machinery company out of Cincinnati, Ohio. I figure it's late 1800s built, maybe early 1900s. But it's an old one, and it's all a cast mill. It's all steel, the outside housing. And it's called the Gem of the South. Now, I've had two of these mills in here in the last couple months. One was a little 12-inch. I did not video it, the process of dressing the stones on it. But this big 20-inch mill I did, and you're going to see it in this video. Like I said, it was built by the Straub Machinery Company out of Cincinnati, Ohio. It's real old. It's got French burr stone in it. And it is called the Gem of the South. Straub built a wood-framed, combination wood and steel-framed mill that stood up on 4 posts that's called the Queen of the South. And I've got a video on my Gristmill's playlist of that Straub mill if you want to go see that. And I can also link it down in the description of this video. We're going to dress the stones, but before we can do that, we got to repour the Babbitt bearings. They're wore out in the bottom. I've talked about that Babbitt before. You're going to get to see the process of how we pour a new bearing. Let's get to work. All right, what we got here is a Straub Gem of the South mill. And this thing lives in Mississippi. And the fellow that owns it, I've talked to him off and on for a long time. He finally had some other business up close to here, so he brought it and dropped it off the other day. And he's going to be in town a few days, and I'm going to try to get this little bit of work done on it so he can take it back with him. And the problem with this mill right now, one of the problems is that the Babbitt and the bottom of this bearing, it's wore out so that the shaft has settled down. You can see right here, you can see this Babbitt. It's got really thin here in the middle, and it's allowed that shaft to set down. So what this mill needs, we'll remove this Babbitt out of it, take all that out, clean it up really good. Set this bed stone. This whole thing is a bed stone. It goes up here and goes right over the shaft, faces against this runner stone. We'll put all that back together. Once we clean out this bearing, get all the Babbitt out, clean it up really good. We'll set that bed stone back up here, right here, bolt it up, get things where we want them to be as far as the shaft goes, and we'll dam up right here. And also on the inside of that bearing, we'll dam it up with some, like Babbitt right, something I kind of homemade. It's like Play-Doh kind of. And same thing over here, we'll dam it up right here with some dough. And whatever we need to do over here, we'll do, and we'll repour these Babbitts. Now right here, this is a big old grease cup, somebody's homemade, so you fill this up with grease right here, and you just turn that, and it presses that grease down into this bearing to keep it greased. We're going to take this whole cap off and look at this. I was looking right here, it looks like a ball bearing race with no ball bearings in there, so I figured they're gone somewhere because there's a race on both sides, so evidently somebody's robbed the ball bearings out of it for something. Alright. Now right here, I've never seen one set up this way. Right here is your adjustment screw. That presses this threaded rod and pushes on the bearings and on the shaft to hold that runner stone tight up next to everything else. And you can see here, you can see there's ball bearings right in there. See there? But I don't know why there's two races. I've never seen that before. That's strange. Maybe that's just something they done on these gems. I don't know. So we'll take this out. See what it looks like down under there. Get ready to pour our Babbitt. See if we can lift them out without losing the ball bearings out of it. Oh yeah, here we go. See there? It runs on them ball bearings. Ooh, boy, that looks ugly, don't it? We'll clean all that out and get ready to pour the Babbitt back on that side. It's gonna be a little bit of a job, folks. A little bit of a job. I wanted to look in behind the runner stone to see if there's anything back in there, and I used my phone to do that, and I'll show you what I see back in there. The man that owns this said when he opened it up the first time, they dug a bunch of cotton out of this. I guess this thing was in cotton country, and some rat filled it up with cotton and made a home out of this mill, and try to get some of this cotton out of this thing. Let's see how it goes. All right, little grabby thing, put it down in there. Squeeze and release. Nope, nothing. Let's try it again. Down in there, squeeze, release, nothing. Stuff must be pretty hard to grab, ain't it? Or else I ain't biting in the right place. One, didn't get a bite. Not a bite. Not a bite. This is gonna be harder than I thought it'd be. I figured I'd grab it and bring it out of there, but I guess not. Alright, that's several attempts and nothing, so we're going to have to try a different approach. What I'm going to do now is loosen this eccentric collar, and hopefully I can move that back, slide this pulley all the way over to here, and give me enough room to get in behind here to clean that mess out, hopefully. It's got a little set screw right here. See if that'll loosen up easily enough. Oh yeah. Usually they've had a lot of oil or grease on them, and they stay pretty well to where you can get them loose without much problem. So we'll loosen that up real good. Take it all the way out, maybe. I don't know. We'll see how easy if this thing wants to break loose or not. But I'm just gonna clean this shaft up real good with a wire brush so that the thing can slide on it when the time comes. Alright, so I've cleaned this thing up. It's moving. See there? Did you see it move? See it moving? Oh yeah. This keyway is not cut typical of the old keyways. This has been cut with a milling machine, but who knows? I guess that was, I don't know if that was done at the, I guess it was done at that same time. I don't know. Most of the time it'll be a cut on a I guess it's a rotary horizontal milling machine where it has a blade that turns, and you can see how it kind of comes out on the end where a saw blade would. This is cut with, looks like a vertical milling machine, so that's interesting to me. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide the whole pulley and everything over here as far as I can to see if that gives us more room over here to work and clean this out behind this stone right here. So that's my hope. Maybe about as far as it wants to go. That gives quite a bit of more room, but not enough. I might be able to run my hand through the spout. Oh yeah. Yep, look at here. Look at that Mississippi cotton. Woo! Thing about these mills, you run your hand up in there, you don't ever know what you're gonna pull out. Might be something alive, might be something dead. One of the main things I wanted to do this for was to clean out. Look at that wad of cotton. I mean, that's big, look at that. And he said he got a bunch out of it. But one of the main reasons I wanted to do this was to look and see that shaft, make sure there wasn't some kind of a bearing housing on that shaft. I don't know how good a view you're gonna get, but you can see the shaft right there. There's nothing on it. Okay. Now what I'm gonna do is take this Babbitt out here in the bottom of this. I'm just gonna take a chisel and break it out so that I can pour the new in. And I don't want to pull this pulley off. It's gonna be hard to break loose, and you risk breaking a pulley when you do that. So I'm just gonna leave this pulley on the shaft. The shaft is in my way, but I'm just gonna work underneath it to save a lot of time and expense here. Before I start doing that, I'm going to the house to find me a bite to eat because it's getting that time of day. Well, that was good. Got a little surprise. Virginia is going to try to make her first round of biscuits, and I'm going to have to tell you, I've been making biscuits for years, and her first try just blowed me out of the water. Beautiful, delicious. There's a new biscuit maker around here. Hopefully she'll want to do it again. Do you know what this is? Hey, Virginia, what is this?
That's dough so you can pour that Babbitt.
Thanks for the help, Virginia. I appreciate you, girl.
This is fun, Pops.
See them little dimples there that hold it in place? That's to keep it from ever turning or spinning in there. Holds it in place. Yeah, but it still ain't going to.
The good thing you made a good thing to do.
That's right, ain't it? That's right.
I'm glad you made a heavy.
Oh,
Even heavier than this. I'll hold it for you, Pop. Well, not like the fire drill, right? Do you use fire drill?
Oh, a fire drill is not something you use, it's something you do. Yeah.
What do you do to do a fire?
Now, you know about fire drills, you go to school.
Well, fire drills happen at my school, and I don't know what happens because I'm outside.
That's what you're supposed to do. In case it comes to fire, you can. Now we got our shaft in place exactly where we want it. Exactly, lined up perfect. So it's a good even pour across there. We're gonna get our dough out here. Work it a little bit. I like to make kind of a flat side on it, real nice and flat, and put that right up against the bearing. Just like that. Most time it won't stay there by itself. You have to put you something extra on there to help hold it. Something to help hold that in place. Alright, I've got that one packed in real nice and tight. Hopefully it'll hold. Let's move over here to this other one. Alright. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dam up this end of the shaft so that the Babbitt cannot come out this end of the shaft. I'm going to pack it down just like that, where it's nice and tight. You want it to just kind of stay as straight as possible there. That's what you want to happen. Alright, we're going to do the same thing over here on this end. It's looking like we're going to need another clamp, a piece of rag or something to make it work. Every one of these is different. You just have to do your best. Make it stay in place so you get a good pour on it. Nothing no worse than, well, there are things worse, but starting to pour Babbitt and all of a sudden something breaks loose and you got a bunch of hot Babbitt running everywhere. Then you just have to throw your stuff down and maybe have a moment of silence before you move on and get back after it. The ideal way to do this kind of stuff's on a workbench where you don't have to improvise things like this right here, but that ain't always how it works. Can't put this on no workbench, so we're doing the best we can with what we got. Alright, that looks like it's pretty much dammed up. Double check everything. That's the impurities in it. Get them out. Now you can see how much is in that ladle, about half full. So I'm gonna go ahead and put another chunk in it. Break this chunk in two before it goes in there because it's too long. There's a good piece right there. Drop it right there. Look at that, look at that. Woo. One thing, important thing is, you don't want to get your Babbitt too hot. You need a thermometer. I've just done it a few times and I too should be using a thermometer, but I'm not, as you see. You can see that Babbitt running in that spoon, see? And the impurities, they stay. Just like that. It's getting a little warm, so I'm gonna set it up here. See there how liquid it is? Sorry about that. I'm gonna brighten that torch up where it won't do nothing but burn. And I'm gonna heat this bearing housing up. Get it good and warm. And the reason I'm gonna do that is so that Babbitt won't be shocked. And that Babbitt hits that bearing housing. The bearing housing will have some heat on it, so that it won't be going into a cold housing and that sudden change and it's already getting hot on the bottom. That sudden change in temperature won't set the Babbitt up immediately. It'll let it flow good so we can get a good even flow, good even pour on these things. Alright, we'll let that heat and we'll go back over here to our Babbitt. It's still flowing a little bit there. We'll set it back over here on the fire to keep it warm till we're ready to pour it. Give it a little heat so our fire won't go out. Bearing's been heating for a little while here. I think it's probably hot enough. The best I can tell on the back side, it's pretty warm. So I'm gonna leave that torch on here and I'm gonna grab my ladle. Grab my ladle. Make sure my Babbitt's, oh yeah, it's still good and free flowing. One final scoop to get the impurities out. Just like that. One final scoop to get the impurities out. You might get a little Babbitt with the impurities, but it won't be much. Alright, now I'm gonna hand you off to my assistant right here, so you can scope in here and see what I'm doing. Here we go, hope for the best. Main thing is you don't want to stop pouring once you start. You want that thing to fill up as level as you can. Just like that. See, I run it over there a little bit. But that's what you want. You want that baby doll to fill completely up before you turn loose of it. You can see how much Babbitt we had left there. Not much. I'm gonna put this back on the forge. Put some more Babbitt in. Throw us another piece of filled wood on here. Get this thing fired back up. That looks pretty good. I mean, it filled in real nice. All the way to the edges. Got a little overlap right there, but that won't hurt it. It's pretty much full. Now we can pull our dough off, our dams, pull our dams out, see how it filled in on the bottom side. Should be good to go. All right, I got that dam out. It looks pretty good. Pretty good. It's a little rough, a little hot right down in there, not too bad. And pull this one off. I don't like a metal burr in my finger. It wasn't as hot as it was that burr sticking. All right, I'm gonna take this off. That looks good. That ought to have a nice little finish around that bottom side right there. All right. Running a little low on Babbitt here. To pour a new bar in here. I'm going to take a torch off and get the Babbitt. I'll be right back. Like I said, you want a good, constant flow without stopping until it's all full. And hope and pray it don't leak. Alright, that's full on both sides. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull my dough off. That looks right pretty. Right pretty. I've got this little tool right here. You know what that is? That is the tool you use at Christmas time when you're cracking nuts to get the goodie out. But around here, we use it to scratch out the dough when we pour Babbitt bearings. Alright, that's about the extent of what I'm going to do for right now. I'm going to let it rest. Before I do anything else to it. And you can see that Babbitt right there. See how I poured it just barely above the surface of the bearing. The surface of the housing. You can see that. There's one little low spot right there. But it's not low enough to hurt nothing. It's just about perfect. So tomorrow maybe. No, maybe not tomorrow. Maybe Monday. I'll come down here, clean all this excess Babbitt off, and then that thing should break loose and turn in there, and it should be ready to put the upper bearing caps on and dress the stones. Woohoo! I wanted to show you something here on this old mill that I've never seen before. Now I've took this eccentric rod loose, and this goes up and it furnishes the shaking action up here to shake the shoe to feed the corn into the mill at a steady flow. Now, when we unloaded this thing, the owner was looking at it and he pointed out that one of the ears on this eccentric was broke right here. See that break right across through there? Well, when I pulled this thing off, I expected this ear to just fall off in my hand, but it didn't. Now I want you to look what some old timer's done to this thing. That's why it's staying on here like that, and it's completely broke off. Look at this. He put a steel pin, drilled that right there. See where he drilled that hole in there, and put a little steel pin, drilled this piece, and put that in there just to hold that in place for that bolt to go through to where it couldn't move. And it didn't move, and it worked. So I thought that was right interesting. I've never seen that done before, and I know a lot of y'all will find it interesting as well. I wanted to share it with you. All right, this Babbitt, it's set overnight. Well, actually, since Saturday. Today's Monday. And it's good and hard, dry. Well, not dry, but it's hard, and I took all the alignment supports I had on this thing to hold it perfectly true out. And I'm gonna break this, see if this will break loose pretty easy. Oh yeah, see there? See there? It broke right through. And a lot of times the torch, you see that black off the torch? That torch burning down in there? If you keep it pointed at the bottom, that black will coat this shaft. See that black right there? That'll coat the shaft, and it'll keep the Babbitt from adhering to the shaft. So it kind of works, does a double lick on it. On these bearings, I've got to take them down nice and smooth to this housing level. And what I do, I've got an old handsaw I keep around here just for that purpose. I'll get as much as I can with a handsaw, and then take a good sharp chisel and finish them up with that. That's how I do it. I just keep working it down with that, and you can kind of saw sideways on it, saw flat once you get it down so much, and do a pretty good job of smoothing it up, and then dress it real smooth with a real sharp chisel just by pushing it. But that's how I do that. All right, we got this old gentleman ready to go. New bearings, new Babbitt in them. Everything's turning nice and smooth. She's ready for the stones to be dressed, and it always tells the tale when you dress the stones, because when the Babbitt gets wore, it wears differently most of the time, and the stone's cockeyed, so you usually have quite a bit of work to true the stones back up. But I've got them painted. We're gonna run it, open it up, and see what we've got. All right, I pulled it apart here, and you can see the runner stone's got a little contact around the outside, but that don't mean much. Right here on this bed stone, you can see we've only got contact on one side, so we got to take down a whole lot to get these things trued up like they're supposed to be. All right, after taking this thing apart and dressing the stones and putting it back together about 8 or 10 times, we've now got contact on the whole circumference of the stone. Just a little bit of contact down here, but you can see we got good contact up here. And what we want is for it to be like this all the way around, even, nice and flat and even. So that's what we're working on. I'm just sitting here pecking. I'll give you a good view of what I'm doing right here. Taking them high spots down. You hit what high spots you have, and then you put it back together and run it again. Paint your food coloring on there between each one. Just takes time. A lot of time. dadgum fine, way too fine for cornmeal. So right here, they had some homemade set up to adjust this shoe up and down, which adjusts how fast the corn feeds into the mill. So I've never seen one of these gems before. I had one here last week. It was a little 12-inch, and this one's a 20-inch. This is the first 2 gem of the South mills I've had at my shop ever. And it's funny that I had 2 in the same week span of time. But anyway, I don't know how the original setup was on this right here. I don't have nothing to go off of. So what I'm going to do is make a bracket that bolts on here and here. And it comes up here, and it's got a hand wheel that you can adjust a screw and raise and lower this shoe. That's the best and about the only way I know of to do it. So the customer's got to get back to Mississippi, so I'm going to take some measurements here, make a drawing so that I can make this part and send it to him. But you got a new hopper thanks to Tim at Appalachian Sheet Metal. Got a new hopper on the mill. Had to do quite a bit to it. Like I say, it's a new mill to me, but we got it in shape. She's grinding now. Got the Babbitt poured where it's nice and thick on the bottom side. Had to put new spacers in. These wood spacers, if you watch my channel, you know, is that Babbitt wires and you get play. You take these off and you plane these spacers down about a tiny amount, a 30-second at a time, until you get it adjusted where they need to be. That's how that works. Got that done and got it back where it needs to be, back home in Mississippi. As always, thank you for watching.